right, hello everybody. Welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. I'm your co-host, Michael, and as always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and today we're going to be taking a look at all of the annuals featuring Spider-Man in 1988.
All right, and don't sound too excited because that excitement's going to wane in about 3 seconds when we get to review these. But before that, we also have to introduce G.I. Jolie.
Hi, I'm just trying to not cough directly into the microphone.
Oh no.
Yep.
All right. And Bex Luthor.
Yeah, I'm also here.
Oh, right, and Bex.
The fourth one. Whatever. What's her name? What are you, my dad? No, that one.
What the hell? Anyway.
Whichever one that one is. The middle child. Me.
Okay, so who here was born before 1988? Is it just me? Oh, G.I. Jolie. So you probably don't remember when these came out, but I remember this super-sized summer annual series, the Evolutionary War.
Nice segue.
Yes.
If I was born in 1987, I still wouldn't remember them coming out.
Exactly, that's true, yeah. Well, just for those that don't know, this was the first year that Marvel connected all of their annuals together in one big story. Evolutionary War, featuring the High Evolutionary, which has been hinted at in various Marvel shows, right? Because the High Evolutionary created a race of evolved humans, and I think he's tied to Wanda, isn't he, in some way?
With Mount Wonder.
With the Nexus and
Okay. And anyway, just so again, getting back to history, the following year Marvel did Atlantis Attacks. And then the following year after that, they started having mini stories where like 4 or 5 annuals would be one story and 4 or 5 other ones would be another story. But anyway, so this was the big deal at the time. Massive sales success, critical success, not so much, which we're going to find out about when we review these. And we're going to start with The Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 22. And that's going to be Bex Luthor reviewing that. And why don't you tell us about this one? And first, let's talk about this cover.
There's
love
a guy
this
on
cover. There's a guy called Speedball, who's everyone's favorite superhero, introduced in 1988.
I honestly was like, ooh, Polka Dot Man 2?
No.
So I take it no one here's heard of Speedball.
Even.
I know about Speedball because he has a cat named Speedball, and the cat is in the Pet Avengers.
Really? I didn't even know
Yes.
that.
Sorry, his cat is also named Speedball. Is
It's
that what you
actually-
said?
His name is technically Niels, but
Okay.
why? What did I say? Something stupid? Did that sound dumb and bad?
No.
Yeah,
Perfectly
I'm
fine.
pretty sure because they have the same power.
That's pretty cool.
But
Balls?
it's funny. It's funnier when it's a cat bouncing
Yes.
off shit.
Is his power balls?
No, his power is bouncing.
He bounces. If anything hits him, he bounces. Now, we should point out Speedball started his own series, and then he went on to join the New Warriors, and he continued to be a somewhat, major, not major, but minor Marvel character, at least up until Civil War. Where
I
he
was going to say, yeah,
turned
Civil
into,
War.
what was his name, Penance or Penance?
Penance.
Penance. Oh,
Yeah.
I hated that whole thing. I'm sorry, it was so pretentious. But anyway, I liked him back here when he was fun,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but yeah, let's talk about this comic, Becca. So tell us what happens in this one.
Speedball the cat's not in it, and I'm very sad about it.
Anyways, reviews or...
Oh. Yeah, don't recommend. 0 recommendations from me. All right, here we go. And they're annual, so they're extra long. Also, they're extra full of extra garbage in this one, too.
Yep.
Also, Daredevil's here. So we start off with just another drug war raging. There's always some sort of drug war or something going on in New York, and they're always called the same thing. It's always a drug war. We see like a bunch of just dudes talking about newspapers. Spider-Man beats them up. He's like, hey, no peddling drugs in my neighborhood. Webs them all up, and it's like, hey, cop on the road, there's some bad guys here for you. And then he leaves. While the cop is getting his like partners or whatever, all those guys are killed by somebody else. We quickly flash over to the most interesting part of this issue, which is what's his name? Robbie Baldwin, who is Speedball, and his mom. They're seeing a Broadway play, and for some reason we don't know why this Robbie kid is freaking out about this guy almost touching him. At first it seems like he's a big racist. Because he's like, whoa, there's a black guy running at me, and I'm like, what the fuck's this guy about? And I was like, oh wait, no, he's Speedball. He can't get touched or else he'll go flying. Yes. So then, Peter comes home, and Mary Jane's like all scared and everything. He's like, what do you mean? Why are you acting so weird? I Spider-Man all the time. And she turns on the news, and it's like, oh, turns out they're blaming Spider-Man for the murder of all of these druggies. Of course they are. And for some strange reason, then we go to Matt Murdock's office, and he's reading the newspaper. And they have to remind you that he's blind, in case you forgot.
Well, if you're a kid like me and you're reading this in 1988, maybe you didn't know that, right?
You probably knew that Daredevil was blind at this point, but...
I don't know.
Anyway, he's also Daredevil, so that's cool. Sorry if I'm a little bored. I read these all, like, last night, and I just had to... It was a drag.
I can imagine.
Yeah, what did you say, Mike? That you were so excited to reread them, and now you can't wait to sell them?
That's... I don't want to say it on the air, but yes, that is 100% true. When I saw the covers, I was like, here we go! And then I cracked them open, like, oh my god.
So, at Daredevil's office, he's like, oh, well, the Spider-Man I know wouldn't murder a bunch of people. Obviously, he's been framed, so... Better go put myself into a situation that doesn't revolve me. Back at the Bugle, Peter's trying to be like, hey, Spider-Man didn't murder a bunch of people, and obviously J. Jonah's like, sure, he sure did, pal. Here's a cigar. And of course Kingpin's here. Because, yeah, you know what? Sure, everybody's here. Kingpin's here, and they've been being attacked by the High Evolutionaries men. And you would know that if you read Punisher Annual #1, which I didn't. And I won't. I refuse. So, because these are all very connected, and we are only reading Spider-Man, the High Evolutionary War is the most confusing nonsense to be written.
I really wonder if this is an okay story if you read it from the start. Because some of the things kind of seem interesting, but it's just so confusing and so jumbled.
Yeah, and I'm like, they don't have like the titles, they're like the Evolutionary War. Do they have like a part 1, part 2? Like, where am I supposed to start reading?
I was confused about that too. That like I figured they would have had like part 1 of blank.
So I don't even know where to start. So if this was the first place you're starting, the first thing you hear about the High Evolutionary War, besides the people who previously were attacking the Gwen Stacy clone, is that they're attacking Kingpin. So he needs to find out who these people are. And then we go back to Spider-Man, and he's gone back to the scene of the crime, because that's smart, to see if he finds any evidence of who actually killed all these drug pushers. He runs into Daredevil, and instead of fighting right away, Spider-Man's like, come on, I didn't do it. And Daredevil's like, I believe you. And Spidey doesn't question why he immediately believes him, but he just takes it for what it is. So then they team up to figure out what happened. We go back to Mr. Robbie here, and he's still with his mother, and they are still on Broadway.
Phantom's a long play.
Did they go see Phantom? Or did they go see Les Mis?
You know what? Now I can't tell, because I'm seeing the marquee for Les Mis in this frame, and
maybe it was
it was Phantom in the other, and
it was
honestly,
a dual feature.
They're both long.
Double feature.
Yeah, you go see Les Mis and then you go see Phantom. Actually, I don't know which would be worse to get to see
your
first.
Entire day.
Some people have Lord of the Rings movie marathons. We go see Phantom and then see Les Mis back to back.
Because we like to be miserable.
Yeah. Oh, and then if you're speaking of miserable, then we go see Rent right after. Just the worst day. Or Cats. Sorry. Anyway. So, back at the Daily Bugle, Kate Cushing ends up tricking Jake Jonah into rescinding that he thought Spider-Man killed all those people, so I guess it doesn't matter anymore at all. Back to Speedball, he finds himself wandering around the wrong part of town because he's not from here, just like the most stereotypical gang of thugs. And I do absolutely want to point out that the gang of thugs that pushes him over originally, one guy's shirt just says "eat."
What the fuck?
And the other guy's tank top is just his face on a tank top.
Oh my god.
I'd say another tough.
That's the only thing that kept me
You've never seen Ruffians before?
Yeah, come on, Becca. Eat.
I just wanted to point it out. I thought we reviewed art on this podcast.
There you go. Yeah, fine art.
So, eat. So, these hooligans, they're trying to mug Speedball, and they push him, and the kinetic force causes his Speedball powers to show up, which means that he literally cannot control his kinetic dispersion, so he just bounces off everything. Eventually, he grabs onto a wall and is able to stop himself, and he, tries to aim himself, but not before the high evolutionary men, what are they called? Dudes? Purifiers?
There's purifiers, and then there's another set of them too.
So robots, the
eliminators or something.
Yes. So they show up and they are They are there, from what I gather, to purify the human race of something. So they start just blasting these dudes, and Speedball's like, "Oh my god, you can't do that. You can't kill them." And then back to Spider-Man. I forgot that these things switch so many times. Scene changes. You get whiplash.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Back to Daredevil and Spider-Man just beating up a bunch of people in a bar, getting information. Classic Spidey Daredevil moves. I feel like it's always this bar, it's always the same goons, so you think they'd give up information quicker. We do a quick, what's Kingpin doing? And he's getting the Arranger to arrange some stuff. They kidnapped one of the high evolutionary robot guys, and they're just guys in suits, and they're torturing him to get information out of him to find out who his boss is. And he's like, "I'm not gonna talk," so Kingpin literally picks him up and crushes his ribs. And he's like, "Now he'll tell me everything," as he's holding a corpse. So
yeah, he's like, "Heal him up quick. I've got something to ask him."
Meanwhile, his diaphragm's been pierced and he can't talk anymore. Back over to where Speedball is, he followed those robots, and he found their lair, I guess, and he found out that they're planning on killing everybody, I guess, purifying and all that nonsense. So he's like, "I've got to go to the police," and the police don't believe him. So he's like, "Well, guess I'll do this myself, even though I'm in New York, where all the superheroes are." After a quick torture session with Kingpin, he tells the Arranger to get to arranging, and he's like, "Yep, no problem, mate." So back at the bar, a little bit more of a scuffle, and then eventually some guy blabs about, what does he blab about? Oh yeah, the guys they're looking for are the guys who killed the drug dealers. So Robbie finds himself at the Empire State Building, which is where the High Evolutionaries men have been hiding out, the very tip top. And Spider-Man and Daredevil crash in there, and they start beating up some robots and whatnot. Robbie comes up, and he also is like, "I'll save the day too." Meanwhile, no matter what Daredevil and Spider-Man can do, they can't destroy this equipment. But then Speedball manages to control his powers for 5 minutes, and he clacks into the antenna, and he's the one who saves the day. But right after he does that, he plummets to almost his death, and then Spider-Man Gwen Stacy's him, but doesn't break his back, and pulls him up. And he's like, "Hey, guys, I'm a superhero too." And then Kingpin says the best line ever. He says, he tells the Arranger that he has something that he'd like for him to arrange. So we finally said that.
Well, he says you'll arrange it, right?
No, he says, "I have a little something I'd like you to arrange." I think he actually says arrange 4 times to the Arranger in this specific annual. So then the Arranger...
Forgot who he was.
Sorry?
Just in case you forgot who he was.
Yeah. Because he doesn't have a name tag like everybody else. Kingpin has to say his name over and over again so he doesn't forget. So then we go back to this guy who I forgot to mention. His name is Splitface Flanagan. Forgot that he's the guy who killed all the guys at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
So the Ranger shows up and he's like, hey, pal, you're gonna turn yourself in or I'm gonna kill ya. So he turns himself in. And that's kind of it. And then Kingpin talks a little bit more about how he's beginning to worry. And you know that's a big deal because Kingpin doesn't worry about shit.
Right.
And that's the end of the Spider-Man story, so...
Do you want to keep going or talk about this one first? You want to summarize them all first?
I can just do these ones quick.
Okay, go ahead.
There's just there's like 6 add-ons at the end of every annual for some reason. This first one is just a little backstory about Speedball and his mom almost getting killed. It's the worst one. Actually, it's not the worst one.
It's
but
not.
It is. You read it and you're like, this has got to be the worst one, but it's not. So there's just like this guy who's trying to kill his mom because she got a role in a play and he didn't, and then it turns out that like she doesn't even remember him, and it's really fucking sad. But it doesn't matter because everything's fine at the end. And then
end.
So there's Speedball's little story. Like, why even put that in there? Who cares?
Well, because they're trying to introduce a new character and expand on his origin and get people to like him.
But they introduced him already, like he was in the main story.
I know, but they're trying to hit you over the head with him so that you think, that's what they're doing.
Well, what they've done is made me hate Speedball.
Oh.
And think he's boring.
Didn't work.
Next story, actually the High Evolutionary. This one starts off with the cow. So the High Evolutionary has a machine that can quickly evolve living beings. And what he does with this is he takes animals and gives them human intelligence.
Awesome.
I don't like the implication that as soon as he evolves this cow, he has to cover her up because now she's naked.
But that's what the story of Adam and Eve is about.
They were already human.
No, but they realized they were naked, right? They felt modesty. That's what happens to the cow here. You see, she goes moo. That's what that's about.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't. I should have read between the.
It's the subtext.
oohs.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you done that story, or is there still more to talk about?
Am I done
Wait.
that story?
Wait. No. Intelligence is different from shame in some circles.
Some people have intelligence and no shame. You're right. Or some
I
yeah.
have both.
Okay.
What was the point of this one? Did you guys read any of these?
Well,
Hell
yes.
no.
I'll tell you right now. Okay, I'll just quickly say these stories are all. I think they're all kind of flashbacks, and they're kind of filling in the cracks of old stories. That's what the purpose of this is, to explain how we got to this Evolutionary War. So the main Spider-Man story is the actual Evolutionary War, and this is all backstory. This would be like a DVD, like those Marvel one-shots that you can see on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these
Yeah.
are.
I just wish that they explained things instead of made me more confused.
They are. Again, I bought these when I was a kid. I read these backup stories once and never wanted to read them again. They are not done in an entertaining way.
I love the High Evolutionary's big handle on his helmet.
Yeah, I was gonna ask why he's got a little handle.
Very cool. I don't know, but it's awesome.
I think he's gonna be the bad guy in the new Guardians movie.
Is he?
I have a feeling.
I hope
they
so.
They keep hinting at Rocket Raccoon's origin.
Which is tied to this, right?
Isn't
this
it?
Guy?
I don't know about that. I don't know.
I think he does the same thing. A raccoon goes moo and then puts on some clothes, I think.
Oh, okay.
And then Adam Warlock's in this later too, so
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
really? Oh, well then.
Wait, didn't you read these,
he's a
Josh?
son.
Wait, I thought you read these stories. What's going on?
Huh?
Yeah, anyway,
What's that?
moving on. cow. Now the cow has human intelligence. He goes with all the other animals that the High Evolutionary is now teaching to have language. We just get a quick flashback about how apparently he tried to trap this guy who was a werewolf. And he's like, oh, well, he's not evolved because he turns back into a man. And then he just doesn't talk about this guy ever again, which is fine. And then his old friend shows up, and we're supposed to be like, oh, it's this guy. But it turns out it's not that guy. It's actually the spirit of a sixth century Morgan Le Fay cult member who possessed the body of this guy. I'm not making anything up.
No.
He possesses the body of his old friend, and he's like, hey, High Evolutionary, who's also just a guy, in case you forgot. Turns out your entire factory up here is on Mount Wundergar, which is where the Darkhold and all that, because we all just watched Doctor Strange and WandaVision, so we know what that's all about. Mount Wundergar, you know. It turns out, how do you pronounce his name? Chthon? Big evil demon.
The
Yeah.
second one.
I don't know.
One of the big Marvel demons. He's underneath there. They trapped him down there. So this monk possesses this man to then talk to this other man. And he's like, hey, quit it. You're going to let this guy out. And obviously doesn't believe him. That's where that one ends.
The end. That's the end of the annual.
That was the worst recap I've ever given for anything ever.
Whew. Well,
honestly, for most of these issues, my eyes just like glazed over, and I was just looking at pictures.
so
And to say that this was the best of the three is like
Yeah,
sad.
probably.
here's the thing. This was plotted by Tom DeFalco, scripted by David Michelinie. So these are Spidey veterans. They turned in their worst work I've ever come across in their careers. The art is by Mark Bagley. This is some of the worst art I've ever seen in a professional comic book, like ever. It just looks like a teenager drew it. So, in my opinion, and then on top of that, the story is so confusing and clearly just kind of shoehorning in the connection to the Evolutionary War, right? It just feels very artificial. There's nothing organic about the story, like mixing the Kingpin and Daredevil and these robots and the drug war. I don't know. I don't think it works at all. I thought this was garbage. I now remember. Now I know why I never bothered rereading this after I read it the first time, because it's junk. Gia Julie, what do you think?
I disagree about the art. I wouldn't say that it looks like somebody in high school drew it, because everyone I knew in high school was not as good an artist, or wasn't an artist at all. Mm-hmm. I would say that it looks like comic book art, almost as if a machine were to have made this art, and it's just very paint by numbers. This is a guy holding a cigar. Can you draw him to look like JJJ? That's it. Mm-hmm. It's not he's not trying to shatter your world with his comic book art. He's just drawing Spider-Man. The story is fine. I thought that the High Evolutionary stuff was interesting because I'd never heard of it before. But I was like, okay, so this must be something I'm not understanding. It must be crossing over from other books since Daredevil's here. But it turns out, I guess it's not. This is where it starts?
No, it's not. This is chapter 6.
Mm-hmm.
There's 5 stories before this in the Evolutionary War.
Wait. So it's a series called the Evolutionary War.
Yeah, at the beginning I said all the Marvel annuals are telling one chapter of the Evolutionary War.
Why would they do that?
To make you
so
buy
you
them
buy
all.
all the annuals.
That's the stupidest idea in the world.
It's kind of like a Secret Wars type of event that they're telling through the annual, so they don't have to interrupt the main stories that are happening in the regular books.
I get that they're trying to sell books, but as now a bookseller, it really is. It just appears as though it is a cash grab every single time.
Oh yeah, It is, of course.
And
which is why multiple characters guest star in the annuals all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what? Okay. Okay. I thought I hated this less. I hate it just a little bit more now that I know that. Yeah, do I like? Okay, that's fine. I don't hate Speedball either, but I also do not like Speedball. I definitely don't love him. He's a weird character.
He only gets weirder
Yeah.
in the comics.
Part of me was almost too joyful when he realized that he could bounce around up in the air, but he still splats on the ground. That whole scene where he's like bouncing around and he thinks he's gotten the better of everybody, but he's actually just plummeting very quickly towards the ground. I was actually kind of happy that that was happening, because at that point he was just super annoying. I like his costume.
Me too. Steve Ditko, creator of Spider-Man, designed it. Jolie,
Yeah.
well, Jolie, do you want to take a quick break? I see you coughing there.
Don't point it out. She muted herself.
Oh, she's on mute.
Just
Yeah.
just move on.
Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of just like, about this issue.
Right.
And then it only gets worse. And again, this is obviously, I'm reading like episode 5 of a TV show, essentially.
Right.
So
Right.
part of the burden is on me to figure out what's going on. But at the same time, they do not do much to help out in figuring out what the heck is even going on. The multiple backup stories too are strange. Like, why aren't they just in the comic, since they're already doing these like kind of like flashes over to the High Evolutionary? Why not just include it in the story? But it's so weird that it happens after everything else, and we're kind of like left open. Like, wait, where does this fit in? What the heck is happening? It's so strange. Yeah, Speedball's fine. I always like when Daredevil shows up, and he was good too, I guess. I don't know. It feels very empty and hollow, because this isn't a Spider-Man story or a Daredevil story. It's like a big event, high evolutionary story, and we're just thrown these other characters, and they're just kind of thrown into the story because we need something. We need a place for this to take place. So I guess we'll have Spider-Man in here for a couple of issues and then move on.
Is Speedball like part of the High Evolutionary story?
No, he has no connection.
So why introduce a new
stupid.
character?
This is a great question, and I'm gonna guess the fact that all 3 annuals, if you notice, introduce new characters, right? Like Web of Spider-Man introduces the Slug, and I think someone else. Oh,
is that
Poison.
the introduction of Slug?
I think so, and also
Interesting.
Poison is introduced, whom we never see again, and then
I was like, my favorite character.
yeah, there you go. And Spectacular has an appearance by the Young Gods. It's not their first appearance, but they're obviously trying to push the Young Gods, right? So I'm assuming that was like a side project of these annuals, was to introduce new characters, and as we can see, most of them didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, that's a bummer, because it's trying to be so many things all at once. It's trying to be this gigantic crossover event with this huge complex story. It's trying to be an annual for our superheroes that we read about every week or every month. And on top of that, it's introducing like new characters that they're trying to like pilot and spin off into other comics, or like introduce to be like new fan favorite characters. It's just not. You can tell that this is just whatever in the writing. There are some fun moments, I think, in all of them. There's some good moments, but I think that they all kind of fall flat in the same exact way, where it's just like nothing. Why is any of this happening? Why is it important? Besides the high evolutionary stuff, it holds no weight. Like nothing does, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, the art's fine. Yeah.
Okay, want to jump? Becca, what do you think?
I think that it's really cool that when Speedball becomes Penance later, the cat Speedball Niels becomes P-Cat.
Stop.
No, it's just P-Cat. And that's all I'm going to think about for the rest of today. So
Does he also have a bunch of spikes in his back afterwards? Like, does his costume change?
I don't know.
Or what's up?
It's just called P-Cat.
P-Cat.
The penitent puss. Don't
That's
lie to that.
bad.
The
Thanks.
penitent puss?
You got Piss Cat, the penitent puss. Yeah, it's a bummer.
Oh, he does get lots of spikes.
Does he really? I hope that they
Yeah.
don't put spikes in his body, though.
No, he's got
Hopefully
a little
it's
spiked
just-
suit.
Okay.
Oh, there's a lot of sad fan art of this. Anyway,
Oh, no.
I'm sad that Niels isn't in this. Because he's my favorite part about Speedball is the fact that the accident that gives Speedball his powers also gives it to just a cat. just a cat named Niels. No, I hated this. I hated it was such a chore to read. I'm reading Spider-Man. I'm not reading Punisher Annual #1. No matter how much you try to make me. Dad? No. So, I'm just so confused. I don't know what's going on, but the worst part is I don't care to know. This didn't make me really want to know what was going on. I was like, wow, this high evolutionary seems interesting. And as soon as I was done reading it, I was like, thank God that's over. And I moved on. So, I'm not. I can't believe I'm going to say it, guys, but Secret War is better than this.
Ooh.
At
Yeah.
least you had Secret Wars issue 1 to 12. The story was about Secret Wars. The Secret Wars. The fuck is this?
You talking about Secret Wars 2?
Oh yeah, Secret Wars 2. Also better than this.
Okay.
Yeah, at least that they came up with like a good reason for all of these characters to like be interacting with each other, right? Like
True.
this alien that doesn't know anything about Earth is like bouncing around, interacting with all of these people. Like that's something. How is Spider-Man connected into this at all? Besides just happening to be there for all of the fights, with maybe the exception of Spectacular. There's no reason for Spidey, and that happens at the end. That's the
Right.
10th of 10 of 12, 10 of 11 of this story. So part 10
See-
of 11 of all of these annuals.
That just sounds so exhausting. I was like, this is part 6. I have to read 5 different issues to know what the hell is going on in this one. And then there's 6 after this.
So I want to quickly
bad.
say while we're here for the listeners, I'm going to rattle off the other comics that tied into Evolutionary War: X Factor, Punisher, Silver Surfer, New Mutants, Fantastic Four, X-Men, West Coast Avengers, and Avengers. You'll notice who was not involved and therefore didn't have annuals: Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, whoever else had a title at that time, which again goes to show that at this point the Avengers were not nearly as popular as they are now. It's just interesting to think about. But anyway, so I'm going to say I do not recommend this comic. Like I said, I've had it since I was a kid and I'm going to sell it. So I never want to read this again. The only thing that I really like about it is the cover. And the fact that it's the first appearance of Speedball, because I like Speedball, but it's a terrible comic. G.I. Jolie?
Nope. No thanks. I don't recommend it.
Okay.
I mostly was like, I don't have any final thoughts, so no thank you, but the more time we spend on it, I hated it. It's terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know what? Before we get canceled or whatever the hell they do now, It's Hairball, which only makes it marginally better.
Oh, his name's Hairball, not Speedball.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good.
That sounds better.
I mean, at least it's like, cat.
It's still P-Cat.
Sorry. Yeah, Becca
Definitely P-Cat.
Bex just sent us a picture of P-Cat with all the spikes, and the cat P-Cat is so sad.
Yeah, I'd be sad too if I looked like that. Ugh.
I'd be sad if I was Pennant's cat, honestly.
So no, they're.
The Pennant Plus.
I don't even want to should we even talk about recommending it at all? It's very obvious that we don't.
Yeah, I feel like all three of these issues are going to be a no.
We could just skip the recommendation. We already know
honestly,
we don't recommend them.
Yeah,
but
and
we still have to talk about them.
And maybe if you start at the beginning and read it, there's good, interesting stuff. But as single issues by themselves, they don't make any sense, and there's nothing really good or fun in them. I'd be interested to maybe see if they take all of the High Evolutionary subplots and kind of squish that into something.
Collected work.
Yeah, to figure out just to see what's going on with that dude instead of having to read all of this nonsense. That'd be interesting. Maybe I'd like that, but
the thing is let me just say one last final thing. Is when I first saw Evolution. Oh, and Becca, are you?
No.
Okay. When I first saw the High Evolutionary in the Marvel Universe Handbook, I thought he was a cool character, a cool design. He was created by Lee and Kirby, so we know he's a good character. They have this big crossover based around him, and all these talented people like Mark Grenwald writing the backup stories, and everything about it is terrible. I just don't know how they could screw it up so badly. I don't know. Anyway, just something to think about. Okay.
Yeah, I have to imagine that it was an idea to do a crossover before it was an idea of the High Evolutionary story.
Probably, yeah.
Right? And they had to come up with some sort of story to tie in all of these books. And they're like, we'll make some shit up about this god, I guess, who wants to do something deep, I guess. I don't know. And then they kind of just, put all the pieces together after that.
I think you're right. Oh, I got to quickly point out, we were talking about new characters being introduced. One particular group of characters did last because X-Men Annual number 12 was the first appearance of the X-Babies. Everyone remembers them, right?
Huh?
Sorry.
No. Okay, forget it. All right, now.
Sorry.
Whoa,
you
wait,
mean the
what?
Muppet Babies?
Pretty much, yes. Except that I believe they're genetic duplicates that are little kids. Because I always hated the idea of the X-Babies, so I avoided the stories. But yeah, they are real characters that existed for a while, and they kept bringing them back. That's an example of Chris Claremont's sense of humor. I love Chris Claremont, but he's not good at humor.
What happens if I Google X-Babies?
Okay. While you're Googling that, we should move on.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, the Mojoverse.
Yes. We're going to move on.
Oh, I think Hasbro just announced the big Mojoverse toy line.
Really?
They did.
Yeah.
Because the Dazzler group that Mike made me join is fucking going crazy about it.
Are they going to have the X-Babies?
You know what? Let's pray to God that they don't. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, now we're going to do
Web of Spider-Man. 64 intense pages. That's right. It's chapter 8 of the Evolutionary War, something like that.
Why is Web of backwards this time?
You mean the chronology? I think it's just because, I don't know. The chronology is different, yeah.
It's because, I don't know.
It's because, shut up, Rebecca, don't worry about it.
I really don't know.
That's great.
No reason.
So, the cover shows the introduction of Spidey's newest villain, everybody's favorite, the Slug.
Yeah.
I hate him.
Excuse you.
I hate him.
Who?
This issue is called Sweet Poison. We see Peter's on tour currently, so he's in Florida right now, and he is promoting this book that J. Jonah Jameson kind of like stole all of his work and produced, and he's getting paid to kind of like go on tour and promote it. He's been to like, you know, dozens of cities and on dozens of talk shows at this point, and he's kind of getting tired of it. So after we see him at the talk show promoting this, he goes back to his hotel room, calls MJ and kind of starts complaining like, listen, I'm a New Yorker. I'm not made to travel around like you are, and you know, you're so good at what you do that it's easy for you to do this. I can't do it. You need to, like, if you can, do you think you can like fly down to Miami and meet me and we can like do this together? She's kind of like, she shows up in what could only be described as a little girl trying on everything her mother owns in her closet to say, who did this to MJ?
Who did this to her?
What
I
is
think she's supposed to be
this?
like Madonna. I don't know. Or what's her name? Cyndi Lauper.
It's not good. Anyways, so she says, no, sorry, I'm doing a photo shoot or something. And then we're introduced to this character. She's one of the cleaning ladies at the hotel that Peter's staying at. His spidey senses go off, so he kind of like opens the door to see what's going on. She's like, hey, here to clean the room. So she starts cleaning, and the longer she's there, the more his spider senses are going off, and it's to the point where like he's starting to get a headache. And while she's there, she kind of like briefly talks about her son, and she's been working there for a little while, blah, 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 blah. She leaves. His spider sense finally like calms down, and then we see as she's walking away, she's like talking to this voice inside of her head, who like seems to kind of not necessarily be controlling her, but like is like a part of her, or maybe like possessing her. We move on to more of the High Evolutionaries robot, like human dudes, like the purifiers. Yeah, everybody knows about the purifiers, of course. They're there to like put this monolith down in the middle of the swamp. So they put this thing down. They like, the machine turns on and it rips a hole into the reality here, essentially, and it opens up to, I believe it's like the dark dimension or something like that. It's like a whole nother dimension. Or no, sorry, this is the Nexus space.
The Nexus of Dimensions, right? Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, the Nexus of Realities.
Nexus of Realities. So, then we cut over to Man-Thing, who lives in this swamp, and he is like weirdly connected to the Nexus of Realities for some reason. And opening this rift up messes with him so much that he explodes and turns into mush and falls into the swamp. So Man-Thing is introduced just to be mushed up, I guess. We see Kingpin, who looks like the son from King of the Hill. He calls his Bobby. He does look like Bobby a little bit here, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks a lot like Bobby.
Did you say Dudney?
Doesn't
Doesn't he?
So Kingpin calls up his good friend the Slug, who is the kingpin of Florida, I guess. And he briefly talks about suffocating somebody in his in the folds of his belly fat, which is pretty cool. So Kingpin's like, "Hey, are you responsible?
Florida thing to do.
Are you responsible for all these drugs going missing? I'm trying to sell drugs." And the Slug's like, nope, it wasn't me. So Kingpin's like, okay, let's work together. Then we cut back over to this woman, the cleaning lady. As she's on her way home, she gets onto the bus and she starts talking to the demon thing that's possessing her. And this like being is talking to her and says, tonight we're going out, we're doing something, and you better get your rest. And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna take a nap if we're gonna be like up all night fighting. We cut back over to the hole in reality, and it starts bleeding giant boiling acidic globs of blood onto these people, and they start burning alive. So that's pretty cool. Cut back to the worker. She gets back to her apartment where her son Carlos is there watching G.I. Joe. So we kind of get like a cute little moment of them interacting. And then she says, listen, you're going to be with babysitter tonight. I got to go out again. We cut back over to Peter, who wakes up and he's really hungry in the middle of the night. So he goes out for a burger. And also, he's acting like he's like jet lagged in a different time zone. Florida and New York are in the same time zone, correct?
Great point. Great point. Yes, they are.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Maybe 1 hour, if at max. But
Okay,
I don't know.
just want to make sure we're on the same page here. So he ends up like running into a crime. Essentially, this guy is beating up somebody in a car, and he webs him up, and he like grabs this dude and he like saves him, but he starts interrogating him like, what the heck's going on? What's going on here? So he kind of spills about the gang war that's going on and the missing drugs and the fact that he works for the Slug. Or maybe the other guy worked for the Slug that he saved him from. I'm not really sure. It's not important. He gets murked in a second.
They're both bad guys. Yeah, they're all bad guys, but yeah.
So we see the cleaning lady. She's getting dressed. She puts on this like witch-esque costume with like a necklace that has a red skull on it, and we find out that this voice inside of her, and like she is this character named Poison. We cut back to Spidey. He swings away. He's like, thanks for telling me all the secrets. And then the high evolutionary guys show up and they're like, listen, you're not pure enough, so we're going to have to kill you, which has never happened in any of the comics we've read before. I didn't realize these guys were here to just like kill off bad people, for some reason. Anyways, so he's dead. We cut back to Kingpin. He's on the phone with Slug. We actually see this time Slug suffocating a man with his belly as he sits there by the pool. This is the guy that was trying to get information from the dude that died. So he ends up dying anyways. He throws him in the pool, and then we get a close-up of the Slug as he like laughs and says, everybody jump in the pool now. Party, party, party. Great. Perfect
writing. This is the
writing.
worst thing I've ever read in my entire life. This is it.
This is it,
This
huh?
part. This page.
Which page?
This one. What we're talking about.
Digital page.
I don't know.
The Slug. The
one with
Slug
the slug
suffocating the boy.
a man.
I think that's awesome, but anyway.
Yes, really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Anyways, cut back over to Poison as she's like floating in midair above her like apartment complex as the high evolutionaries goons show up, and she starts kind of like blasting them. Her son Carlos sees what's happening and is like confused and in awe. We cut over to Spider-Man as he's driving a boat through the swamp, and he finds a refrigerator chained up in the middle of nowhere full of cocaine. You know.
As you do.
Yeah, as you do in Florida. The high evolutionary guys show up at the same time as like the Slug's gang shows up to get the cocaine. So the high evolutionary guys start killing off all the drug lords because they're not pure enough and they're purifiers. Spidey ends up fighting them all, but he's kind of like outmatched at this point. The Poison goes over to the rift that's opened up, and the demon that is possessing her pretty much says, listen, I'm outie. Peace. It's been fun. I've literally changed your DNA forever, so have fun with that. I'll never see you again. So a little poof of smoke comes out of her mouth and goes into the nexus of all realities, and then the rift closes up. So why was the rift open at all? Who knows? But it's now closed, which allows Swamp Thing to reform. Man-Thing, sorry, thank you. I always confuse those two characters. Man-Thing is able to reform and be alive again. So he starts killing all of the purifiers and helps Spider-Man. And Spidey's like, ooh, that was a close one. Swamp Thing walks into the swamp, and we cut over to the next morning where Peter is back in his hotel room asleep, and we get a knock at the door, and we're led to assume that it is another cleaning lady wanting to come in and clean, but it turns out that it's MJ. She ends up showing up in Miami to hang out with Peter. The end. And then there's a backup story with Poison, and we kind of like see her walking through New York, and we just get like flashbacks of what happened to her. None of it makes sense or is interesting even a little. And then we just get a bunch of like after that story's done, we just get like those classic annual endings where it's like a bunch of splash pages introducing characters that nobody remembers or don't have anything to do with anything that's going on right now, like Mad Dog 2020.
Well, he was in. These are all actually. Mad Dog was in. Right, Life of the Mad Dog Ward.
But it's done, right? At this point. So he's not going to come back again.
This whole sequence, though, is a year in review. That's why they have it. So they show the marriage. They show Craven. They show. Sure. Yeah.
They show Felicia's ass pointing right.
Yep. Yes.
Just her whole butthole pointing at the camera.
They even got Mark Beacom to come back and do this pinup. It's great.
Oh my god. I skipped this bullshit. I missed the butthole.
Yeah, just her whole butt.
I love it.
And then something happens with High Evolutionary. He's talking to his cow friend and the mustache man.
More shame.
And
who's a ghost?
The cow now helps deliver babies. I don't know. Now there's twins.
This is the cow. This is the cow nanny for the Max Muff twins, Wanda and Petra.
I knew there was a connection.
That's who these twins are. They are the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
So that's what I mean. I think they're going to eventually lead to this whole... So, hey, hold on to these issues, Jolie, because these are going to be worth a lot of money. Anyway... Anyway, can I just say quickly, guys,
that's great.
I actually really enjoyed this issue. This is the best one, I think, of the bunch, surprisingly. But it's written by Steve Gerber, who is... You'll be shocked to learn is one of the best writers of the 70s, who left Marvel to go and write in animation. He wrote for G.I. Joe, among other things, Thunder the Barbarian. I actually really like the story in this one. It has that weird... You know those weird Spider-Man fill-ins by oddball artists and oddball writers that we came across so much, like a few when we started the podcast? That's what this feels like. Like, I think there's a lot of great ideas here. I actually like the Slug. Like, the whole idea of him murdering people by, like... putting him in the folds of his fat, like, it's just disgusting, but also, cool. Like, it's a cool body horror idea. This the Man-Thing is a little bit shoehorned in, but then again, Steve Gerber, he didn't create Man-Thing, but that's how he became famous, by writing the Man-Thing in the 70s. I like the characterization of the Kingpin here. I actually do like Poison. I think she's a cool character.
Mike, I agree with you. I think Poison is cool. I think the stuff with Man-Thing and him showing up is an interesting idea. I think that the Slug, while disgusting, is like a new, fun, interesting take on Kingpin. I just don't think that any of it has enough time to actually be part of the story, and it's just kind of like thrown in there. Like, what does the Slug do in this issue? He does suffocate a dude with his belly, Here's
one problem. Not only is this Evolutionary War, it's also the drug war that was introduced in the Punisher annual. So it's almost like there's two crossovers going on.
It's so
If they would
weird.
have just focused on the drug war, it could have worked. But then they have to shove in the robots and have to shove in the Man-Thing. And so yes, just like the Amazing Annual, there's way too many things going on at once. And like I said, I assume that there was a mandate to introduce new characters. That's why we have Poison, and so we do have her origin. I thought it was okay. It's also Alex Saviuk art, by the way. But again, it's just too much crap. It's like all these different agendas, right? Now we should point out this was the first year after Jim Shooter was fired as editor of Marvel. There was new owners, And I believe from what I've read from behind the scenes is that they were all about fuck innovation, fuck trying to be good, just pump out these comics, introduce new characters, and increase sales. So there's probably, it's that classic case of, you know, the rich guys in suits standing over the writer's shoulders, telling them, okay, now put in this, now put in that, right? And that's probably how we get this.
It definitely feels like that. It definitely has that Superman should fight a giant mechanical robot and polar
100%.
bears. Yeah. No, it definitely 100% has that feel. And like, I don't know, if the evolutionary stuff wasn't here and there weren't like also these robots opening up a rift in space, it would like, I don't know, like I can see like the Man Thing and Poison and the gang war stuff kind of working together, right? Like Spidey can't fight these guys on his own and like confiscate the cocaine, so he's got to help Poison get rid of this like thing inside of her, which will then in turn make Man Thing come back, and he can now help Spidey fight these bad guys. Like that could work. It's just all, I don't know, everything all together is so nothing. It's just like spaghetti thrown at a wall.
Right, but mixed in with like cotton candy and like steak. Like it doesn't go together. Yeah. Okay.
Well, you could at least make a good glaze, like a sugared glaze out of cotton candy for steak. Not that you should.
It's too fancy. It's too fancy.
I'm vegan.
Okay, here's another example. Bubblegum should taste like bubblegum. It shouldn't taste like roast beef, right? Like, is that a better example?
I mean, if you're boring.
But yeah, I think that the analogy is they're not trying to put like two interesting things together and see if it works. They're a little kid throwing everything into the pot and stirring it around because I like this and I like this and I like this. There's no like thought put into like 100%. Wouldn't it be interesting if this sweet and this savory thing came together to create this like new interesting idea? No, it's just I like all these things and I'm going to eat them all at the same time because they're all my favorite things. Mm-hmm. And it tastes disgusting.
Then I'm going to throw up the color blue for 2 days.
Yeah.
That's a really good description of all of this, actually.
Becca, what did you think of this one?
It's weird that you thought this was the best one. I actually don't know which one's the worst one, because I think I hated them all equally, but maybe for different reasons. This one has the problem of starting off very interesting to me. I'm like, oh, Peter's book tour. That's what he's doing. Like, and he's on like a show and he's talking about the thing that he does. I'm interested in that. And then immediately we're like, nah, there's a nexus of all realities. Also cocaine. Also here's the Slug. Also here's Poison, who, by the way, we don't see again until 1995, where she dies.
Oh, nice.
And nobody's ever done anything with her since. So, or I think she dies in 2005. Anyway.
I think she had 12 appearances. That's what I read. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So, cool. Cool for her. It's just, yeah, it's too much. I would like a high evolutionary nexus reality purification event or a drug war, but I don't want both, because having the Kingpin be like, there's a nexus of all realities, I don't really like that. And then the Slug, and he's killing people with his belly flats, and then 2 panels later there's Man Thing, and he's the guardian of the nexus of all realities. I'm like, I need to take a breath. It's just, it's too much, and I don't like it. Because I like Man Thing. I like the stuff with Man Thing. I actually like the stuff with Kingpin. The Slug is the worst thing I've ever seen, in like a good way. Like, that panel, it will haunt me forever.
Yeah, the guy's face. Ooh.
I love how he throws a corpse into the pool and then tells everyone to get into the pool.
Yes.
That's funny. I think the high evolutionary sucks and ruins everything.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, give us some of these things separately, not all of them, and together.
Right.
And like, then there's that little part with Poison's backstory, kind of, where it's just really an explanation of her powers, almost. And I love that she flies off at the end after killing several men. All right, cool, dope.
Does she
Also-
even kill them though? Like she kind of like thinks about it and then like reverses it,
I don't know,
right?
dude.
I don't know.
Unclear. Also, Spider-Woman is in here. Did you know that?
Is she? Where?
little-
Which one?
No, the little girl in the High Evolutionary sub story at the end, the last one with the cow lady.
Oh.
There's a little girl in a where is it? Where did it go? There's a little girl, and he's like, Jessica, there you are. That's Jessica Drew. So
Huh.
that's fun.
What's his name?
Yeah.
The host talks about it. Talks about her too, right?
Yeah.
He makes some sort of
'Cause-
nasty, creepy comment.
Because her dad was his old friend, I think. And she's like, has radiation poisoning. And anyway, to me, this little part at the end was more interesting than anything else about the High Evolutionary. But only because I know about everybody else around him. I was like, oh, right. Everybody's origins are tied to this fucking guy. Because, yeah, it's so confusing. A woman dies and a baby dies, and then there's twins, and they give them to parents, but then the parents don't want them, so they just bring them to not my words, a town of gypsies, and drop them off there.
Yeah.
I missed that. Are we talking about the origin story now?
The very end. That's
Oh,
what
the
happens at
ending.
the very end.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, I don't think a lot of this is thought through. It doesn't read like that, at least. It's like somebody had a lot of ideas and then wrote down all their ideas and then didn't have time to be like, first draft maybe? No, it would go. Annual's got to go out. Let's get it published. And it's like, okay. Because it's just a big mishmash. And like, what part is, we read part 6 was amazing. This is part what?
Part
8.
8, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think
so there's
5 is amazing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh.
5 is amazing. 6, 7, 8 is this one, and then the other one, the spectacular, is 10.
Okay, so they like have a steps, but they don't go next to each other.
They don't
which
directly
makes-
tie in. Yeah.
Yeah, which is even more confusing to me. I don't know. Again, it didn't make me want to read what was happening. I don't care.
So
And that's like the worst thing the one part of a story can do, because like I think Josh compared it to like episode 5 of a 12 episode TV show, but it's like if I watched episode 5 and I was like, that looks cool, I'm gonna go back and watch episode 1.
right.
This doesn't make me. I'm not doing that. That's time. That's my time.
Um.
Oh, last thing. I like the Kingpin sitting in front of the cherry blossoms.
It's beautiful.
It's very romantic. Yeah.
Okay, I'm so turned around. Jolie, have you said anything yet? I don't remember.
I've said a lot of things. Not
Okay.
specifically when I was never addressed, but I spoke.
Okay.
So I think that's enough.
Well, what did you think overall? Just give us your 140 character review.
No.
No.
I'm going to take a page out of Becca's book. No. No. Like, I agree with Becca. The backup story is the best thing about this, and I was skimming the backup story while we were talking about it. Like, we get to see other characters that we're familiar with as babies. It's funny that we were talking about ex-babies before this, because it's like, well, that really kind of came full circle in this little chat about this book, but I thought I hated the other one the most. I hate this one less than the first one. And that's about it. I mean, the level of hatred's still pretty high, so it doesn't really matter beyond that.
We haven't mentioned the art. Cynthia Martin is the same artist that did Life in the Mad Dog Ward. I actually think the art in this is good. It's not great, but I like it. Does anyone else like it? Or is it just me?
The story is too painful to even be able to concentrate on the art. Like,
No,
that's
it's
how
good.
bad these books are. But yeah, sorry, Josh.
Sorry.
It's pretty good. It's also more palatable too, I think, because it's not a recoloring. It's a scan. So I was like, this is
You know what?
nice on the eyes.
That's a very good point, because The Amazing was a scan, and I think you're right. I think they go in and like fix the levels of the blacks because it looks like garbage, but this art, at least it looks appropriate for its paper, right?
Do you mean The Amazing that we read was a
Yeah.
recolor?
I'd have to reopen it, but yeah, I
yes,
think
it
so.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ugh.
both Amazing and Spectacular were scans, and then The Amazing was a recoloring.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It just looks... Oh, yeah, it's hard on the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Okay, we still have one more comic to talk about, so we should probably move on, right? What do you guys think?
Yes, please, let's move on.
So, I'll just say quick... Oh, this is the one I'm going to summarize. I was so excited to reread this because of this awesome cover by our pal Sal. Oh no, not again. Gwen Stacy is back. We see the clone... Well, we see Gwen Stacy walking down an alley, and we see Spider-Man trying to get away from her. This is a great shot by Sal Buscema. Then in the corner we see plus the dramatic return of the Young Gods, who I've never heard of. Well, I've heard of them, but I doubt you guys have, right? Does anyone care? No one cares. Okay.
No.
The Young Gods.
I knew of them, and I went, "Oh yeah, this is why I don't give
Yeah,
a shit."
I couldn't.
Right.
I just read this issue, like right before the podcast, and I couldn't tell you one of their names.
Exactly. So anyway, we open up with actually a decent splash page. Unfortunately, it's the same artist, Mark Bagley, but it's better inks because it's Keith Williams, who usually does Alex Saviuk inks on Web of Spider-Man. So Spider-Man is doing his thing. He's contemplating his life, all kinds of angst. Oh, by the way, this is written by Gerry Conway, the regular writer of Spectacular Spider-Man. And he suddenly finds himself in the middle of a firefight with the High Evolutionaries robots. Slightly differently designed robots. I don't know if this is a different... Right? Is this a different group? I have no idea. So anyway, he jumps in, and then as he's fighting these guys, all of a sudden, he finds himself face to face with none other than Gwen Stacy, who we all know died in the comics about 15 years ago or more. So he's like, what is going on? So he sees Gwen Stacy. He's like, Gwen? And then this is where the most annoying part of the comic starts. The inner dialogue. Isn't Gwen, I tell myself, Gwen Stacy is dead. So as he's talking, we're getting narration that's sometimes contradicting what he's saying out loud, and it's very annoying, but we'll get to that later. So Gwen Stacy disappears. The robots go into like they vanish through this like hole, teleport away. Spider-Man's trying to figure out what's going on, and he's like, I gotta get home. Oh, then he's like, I have to remind myself, Gwen Stacy is dead. My head knows the truth, but my heart... ... Get home, pal. We know where she's headed, don't we? And you better be there to warn Mary Jane before Gwen arrives. So then we cut over to the High Evolutionary. We get some of the High Evolutionary crap. We cut away. Back to Spider-Man. Peter Parker dressed as Spider-Man. He pulls out a photo album, and just as Mary Jane walks in, and he's looking at photos of him and Gwen Stacy. And then he's narrating, Gwen Stacy, the love of my life, before you were the love of my life, Mary Jane. I wish I could say she doesn't matter to me anymore. I wish I could say the feelings were gone. I wish she just stayed dead. So say we all. But anyway, cut back to High Evolutionary, floating around, thinking about stuff. He ends up flying in to meet up with the new gods, who were introduced, I believe, in Thor. And we see this is essentially what we call a backdoor pilot for the New Gods. For those that don't know, that is a episode of a TV show that's setting up new characters to potentially be introduced in their own series. We get page after page of the New Gods having like a training session, basically. And even though Josh doesn't remember any of their names, they say them over and over and over again.
Right?
But they're...
It's like, Michael, how did you enjoy the comic book, Michael?
I know,
What did you
yeah,
think,
you're
Michael?
right. Yep. but we still don't remember. Like some of them, like Mind Singer, Combat. Wait, there must be a list of them somewhere. If someone can Google the young gods. Anyway.
Here's a list. Do you want them?
Sure,
We got
do it.
Bright Sword, Caduceus, Calculus, Daydreamer, Jenny, Harvest, High Note, Mind Singer, Moonstalker, Sea Witch, Splice, and Varua.
Cool.
Was there a
Also
Jenny in
Juniper.
there?
Jenny?
Yeah. Did you say Jenny?
But like, yeah.
Oh, spelled differently?
It's Genii.
Oh, maybe it's like a Arabic thing?
Jenny?
Like a genie?
Um,
I don't know.
I like Calculus.
Anyway, so these characters suck.
That's why you've never heard of them before.
Yeah.
So okay. But hold on though. They were originally human, then they were turned into
Yes.
gods, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
by the Celestials.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were evolved.
So they're like the Eternals, but not.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, because this guy is Jewish,
One of them is, yeah.
so it's like, okay, cool.
Oh yeah, they're
Sure.
all regular humans. Yeah, they were given powers. I mean, maybe they could be cool. Maybe a good writer could turn them into something, but they're definitely not cool here, right? So
Get
No.
wrecked.
and so the funny thing is they take up like 1, 2, 3, at least 4 pages, and High Evolution. Oh no, 5. And High Evolutionary's like, well, I thought you guys were cool, but you're not. See ya. Takes off.
He really
we cut-
does.
Yeah. We cut back to Mary Jane and Peter talking about Gwen Stacy. And then all of a sudden there's a knock at the door. And who's there but Gwen Stacy, right? She comes in and hugs Peter Parker. But Peter Parker's wearing the Spider-Man costume underneath his clothes. And then she takes off. No! And he's like, why didn't I take it off? I knew she'd be coming. I knew she'd be frightened of Spider-Man. Why? Is that why I kept it on? To protect myself from her somehow? So anyway, he's like, okay, well, whatever. I gotta go chase after her. So he chases after her. She almost gets hit by a car, but he saves her, right? And then just as he's saving her, as happens in a Spider-Man story, he gets shot by a laser from a robot. And then the robot comes and captures Gwen Stacy, and then disappears, vanishes. But then, as it's vanishing, Spider-Man leaps into the interdimensional hole. I love comic books. Anyway, and ends up like in this secret home base of the High Evolutionary with all these robots. I see Jolie's getting a headache. Sorry, Jolie.
She's had a
Is it the
headache.
comic? Anyway, Gwen Stacy is now captured inside this like robot prison, crying, and he's fighting. Oh, look at that! The new gods come back, or sorry, young gods. What are they called?
Half the young gods.
The young
New
gods.
gods?
And the young gods.
The new
Are
gods
they?
are a Jack Kirby DC thing. These are the young gods.
Okay.
So they
and
show
only
up.
half of them come back.
Okay, half of them come back to save the day. The cavalry has arrived. Everyone's fighting now. And then they get captured. I just read this yesterday. I don't remember any of this. Fighting. Gwen Stacy.
So
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say what happens is the young gods, they're like, oh, there's something going on Earth, we should go stop them, and half of them are like, Earth isn't our problem anymore. So only one half goes, and then the other half shows up and is like, we told you Earth isn't our problem anymore, and then they all fight.
Okay. And then there's more fighting and more fighting and more fighting.
Yeah, nothing happens. They fight.
Yeah.
They fight the robots, and then they save Gwen and Peter, and they go back to Earth.
Well, basically, yeah, Spider-Man rescues Gwen, and then, like, we gotta talk about this. Then he hugs her, and he's like, I've missed you, the feel of you, the warmth of you, the way we fit. And just like that, out loud, he's like, it's over. You're not the Gwen I knew, and even if you were, even though I still care for you, I'm in love with someone else. And she's like, Peter, don't leave me. And he's like, I won't. I'll get you home. Don't worry, I'll call you a cab. Then he walks back over to the young gods, and they wrap up their little adventure, and then they disappear, and then it's just Peter and Gwen. And by the way, I kind of skipped over this, but the whole time every time he mentions Gwen, there'll be like a little narrative box that'll say, Gwen is dead, to remind himself, because as we know, Peter technically killed Gwen in Amazing Spider-Man 121. And then the High Evolutionary explains why he's captured her. It's because this is actually not Gwen Stacy. It's the clone of Gwen Stacy introduced in Amazing Spider-Man, like 147 or something. But what we learned for the first time in this issue is this is not actually a clone of Gwen. It's another woman. I don't know if they give her name, but she was captured by Professor Miles Warren, who we know as the Jackal. And this woman was turned into a duplicate of Gwen Stacy. And she's like, no, what are you saying, that I don't exist? And Spider-Man's like, easy, Gwen. Keep listening, there's more. So then High Evolutionary keeps talking. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. So then he like sends them on their way. And then she basically gets turned back into her former self. And we see she looks a little bit different. Of course, not as good looking. And then Daydreamer restores her memories. And then Daydreamer's like, I took away her illusions. Dreams and illusions are my specialty. I sensed her need back at that fortress, but my friends wanted to go. And I was upset. I've got to get back before they miss me. Something strange is up. Keep this our secret, okay? And Peter's like, okay. I watched the other one walk away, and it hits me. I don't even know her name. And
her name's Joyce.
Oh, is it? Okay. So then the former
Joyce
clone
Delaney.
of Gwen Stacy walks away, and then we cut back to Peter coming home to Mary Jane, and then they kiss, and they live happily ever after. The end.
Okay.
Wait. Before we talk about that, Josh, there's the secret origin of the Young Gods. We got to talk about that.
Do we gotta?
Yeah. So I'll just skip through. Bunch of fighting, Unimind, bunch of fighting, the end. Okay. Then we have the Young Gods fact pages introducing all the Young Gods and what their names are, what their powers are. Did you mention Varua, Becca?
Yeah, she was the last one I mentioned.
Oh, okay.
Because the list I read off was alphabetical.
This is a different list, different ordered list. But yeah, we see who they are, we see all their powers, we see how much they suck. And then after that, we have the High Evolutionary Chapter 10, The Son of Earth. Bunch of crap.
Oh my god!
Did you read this one? Because I didn't read it. I just skipped over it.
This one's got Adam Warlock in it.
Yeah, but
That's
it's
why I
cool.
read
Yeah,
it.
I like Adam Warlock.
And what is it? Who's that? Who's the evil caveman guy? What's his name?
The evil...
Man, not Man Thing. It's somebody else. What's his fucking name?
We're off the rails.
Project Man?
No, it's this big caveman. He's got a name.
Oh,
I
you
can't
mean
remember what it
Becca?
is.
You mean Man Beast? Hello.
Man Beast.
Yeah, Man Beast.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, am I still talking? Sorry. So yeah, and then that's kind of it. Like Adam Warlock comes in. What happens here, Becca? Do you remember? Adam Warlock gets pissed.
Adam Warlock comes in because the High Evolutionary makes an entire fake Earth and starts from scratch to see if he can evolve humans better than humans evolve themselves. So he tries to do that, and once he gets to the point where humans are becoming humans, turns out we're assholes no matter what happens. So this one guy, this one human that he's evolved, is like killing all the other guys. So High Evolutionary's like, well, this failed, so I'm gonna just kill all these people. And Adam Warlock shows up, he's like, don't kill people. And he's like, alright, cool, you're my son now. So then Adam Warlock is his son now, and then there's like a little tidbit of talking about the adventures that Adam Warlock will then later have with the Hulk and how he gets crucified. And he fights Galactus.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it. Oh, and then he comes back and he's angry at the High Evolutionary. And he's like, but you're my son. And Adam Warlock's like,
But
who cares? Yeah. Oh, because he sees what he's gonna do in the future, I guess, and gets mad at him. Man, the more I talk, the more I don't want to.
So this was the only one that I was really excited about reading. This is the one I was most excited about reading because of the cover. But then I cracked it open and realized, oh my god, what have I done? This one might be the worst. I don't know.
This one sucks so much. The writers don't even know. They don't even know what they're writing about. It's so inconsistent. This whole Gwen Stacy thing is so stupid. Why is Peter shocked that Gwen is here? He already knows that this clone is running around.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So why is he surprised that she shows up? And then why is he then surprised again when she shows up and she's scared of Spider-Man? Why is she going to Peter's house if she already knows that Peter is Spider-Man? Because at the beginning, she even says, "Get away from me, Peter," when Spider-Man swings in to save her. So she knows that Peter is Spider-Man, yet she still goes to Peter's to be like, "I need your help. I don't know where to turn to." And she sees the Spider-Man logo and runs away. And then it's just like, Peter, you already know that this Gwen is... Nothing has changed.
Can I just point out something that makes it even worse, Josh? These writers who don't know what to do with these characters created these characters because Gerry Conway created the clone of Gwen Stacy. Gerry Conway wrote the death of Gwen Stacy. So why is Gerry Conway confused?
Right, and then why did you then write it so Peter knows
right
that this clone isn't actually a clone, but a woman that's been like hypnotized to think she's Gwen Stacy, essentially. So Peter already knew that?
No, he didn't know that. He learned that. He learned that at the end of the story.
Why is he acting like he does know that at the end when High Evolutionary is telling them all of this? He's acting like he knows.
Hold on, I have to get to that.
Because
he doesn't seem very shocked.
Even Gwen's like, "What are you telling me?" He's like, "Shh, let him."
Oh
finish.
yeah, no, I
easy.
Yes, it's because that's bad writing. That's why.
It's like, what?
It's just bad writing.
Which is why they retcon it later.
Oh, that's right. Did they?
Yeah, it turns out they retcon it. The High Evolutionary goes, "Yeah, I lied about that. She's actually a clone of Gwen Stacy." And that's literally what happens. Is he says he lied previously.
This is so stupid.
Because then all the Gwen clones come, right? And there are a bunch of like freaky melted ones and shit.
It's just
yeah.
It's so frustrating because even the small like Spider-Man story that's in this big monster of an issue doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? Like we're with the Web and in Amazing, there were like small little parts that were like enjoyable and like, oh, I could see how that could be a story in and of itself, and that could be a story. Even if you take all of the High Evolutionary shit out of this comic, this Gwen Stacy story sucks ass. It blows. It doesn't make any sense. It's so inconsistent. Why is Peter so bent out of shape about this person he already knows is running around New York?
It's very stupidly handled. It makes no sense. You're right, because, okay, if you go to the beginning of the story, because Peter Parker's reaction, Spider-Man's reaction should have been, "Oh my God, Gwen Stacy's clone is back," but it's not. Because he's already met Gwen Stacy's clone. Like, the whole thing is so badly done. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Twice.
Yeah.
Like it happened the first time back when she was first cloned. And then just recently with the Punisher, when the Punisher shows up, she's there, correct? Oh, maybe he doesn't run into her. Sorry. Okay, yeah.
But hold on a sec here. There's someone we haven't heard from in a while. G.I. Jolie. Want to know your reaction to this story?
Oh, good. Thank you for calling on me, because that'll be the only thing that helps me not fall asleep.
Sorry.
I've been fighting back. I'm like gonna pass out. Like, actually pass out. I don't know whether it's talking about these books or whether I have COVID again. I cannot tell the difference anymore. But this third book was horse manure. It's terrible. I hate all of this. I haven't hated all of this in a long time. And this is like particularly fatiguing. Like, usually I'm tired for the same reasons, which is like, oh, I didn't give myself enough time to read the books and Peter's just being stupid. But no, this goes well beyond Peter being stupid. These books are just, these specific books are stupid. And they shouldn't exist. Yeah. I hate that they exist. I hate that I read them. And I can't believe I'm this angry. Maybe that's where all my energy is being sapped to, is like this anger. Like, I don't want to be angry. Mm-hmm. I really don't want to be angry about these books. And I feel terrible that, like, week in, week out, I'm always giving these books poor reviews. But when is it ever going to get really good? I had high hopes 3 weeks ago. And then, like, it's just been dashed.
Remember when we read Craven's Last Hunt? That was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah. I do remember. Oh, the good
Things are different
times.
now. Yep.
And the art was pretty, and the story was storyboarded, and it meant something, and somebody had something to say.
Yeah.
Well, this goes back to my theory that, you know, the Jim Salicrup era is not as good as the Jim Owsley era, you know? It's just not. Sorry, guys.
But
This is worse than Secret Wars.
This one had
and Secret Wars
Moonstalker
2.
in it, though, guys.
Yay.
Did it?
Moonstalker sounds like one of those old Liefeld, like,
Right.
Death Hawk
Right.
kind of people. So, good for her.
Garbage.
I was
And, like,
so
the Young
excited.
Gods could have been cool, but I, like, don't give a shit.
Yeah. I actually reread the Young Gods part a couple times, not like that scary backup stuff. I didn't even after the first issue, I didn't even tread near the backup stories. I tried to reread
Yeah.
that because I felt like it was good and I was really interested in these, like, new characters. Or what I'm finding out now are new characters. But it turns out, no, cool, they just, like, fight. And they fight amongst each other a lot, which is, you know, not, like, unheard of with a new team getting to know each other and getting to grow together. But, I mean, we barely fight.
I think my biggest complaint for all three of these books is why is the High Evolutionary here
Yep.
Right.
Ding, ding,
in
ding,
any
ding,
of the
ding, ding.
stories?
Why does his head kind of look like an iron?
You know,
I love it, though.
I have less questions about the look than I do about his whole shtick. What's the deal, bruh?
Why?
I just...
Why are you here?
Why? Yeah, like, there's a Spider-Man story, and it's kind of interesting, and then the High Evolutionary shows up, and it's, like, not interesting anymore. I want to see Spider-Man find a fridge full of cocaine and talk to the Man-Thing. But then the High Evolutionary shows up.
Right? And
But why?
I want to see him go on his book tour, and then the High Evolutionary shows up. Like, the stuff at this... Do you know what? I don't want to see the not a Gwen Stacy clone, though. However, like, let's just back that train up. This last book was not good. I don't really care about the whole Gwen Stacy thing anymore. Clone
She's
or not.
dead. Get over it. Well, unfortunately.
It's a very interesting idea to bring back an old love interest to test Peter's marriage and to, like, give him closure in that situation where he's kind of, like, held that with him, but that does not happen. None of this, like, is actually good closure. Like, at the end, he's like, he finds out that, oh, that's not actually Gwen. Okay, well, I guess I'm fine then. It's like, no, what are you talking about? Like, you're just all of a sudden over it. Oh yeah, I guess she's dead again. Oh well. Like, it's like nothing happens by the end. He doesn't change. He's back to exactly where he was. It's so annoying.
Yeah. If anything, it was like the moment he saw her, he was like, ruh-roh, I'm married. Guess I'm not married anymore. Like, that kind of shit was actually happening. And I was like, oh, cool. What?
It's like, it's also like, he's like, oh my god, I'm still in love with Gwen Stacy. And in the same breath, he's like, I wish she would just fucking die. I wish she was still dead. Like, are you
Get out of my
kidding
life.
me?
You know-
What? If that's the case and it's just like a burden, why are you even choked up about, like, why is this even a decision?
The thing is this is a good. It's like you said, though. Could be a good idea because, like, science fiction could deal with this whole concept of, like, what if a clone of a loved one could come back and what would happen. There's definitely a good story that could be told here, but it is not done here.
Well, like most
right?
clone stories, right? It's about dealing with your actual emotions. It's the person who has the loss, I should say. And because the clone or whoever it is that is in like the stand-in for the lost loved one is never they're always the same. Nothing ever changes about that it's about changing yourself and realizing that a loss is a loss and handling loss. This is not that. Black Mirror did a really good episode of that. That one still gives me chills. I still think of Donald Gleason like in a box in the attic.
Yes, I remember that. That was a good one.
And like that this was not that. This was like Gwen's okay, fine. Cool, you want to have Peter deal with his loss, and then at the end of the book, you shoehorn in Daydreamer or whatever her name is. I also have already forgotten her name. And you have her unmask the illusions of this woman who it turns out has been fooled into thinking she was Gwen Stacy, which also is she's fooled with illusions, but also her look is altered so that other people only see Gwen Stacy also.
And it's somehow been done by a scientist?
Yeah.
Science, I guess?
What?
Don't think too hard, guys. Don't think too hard about it. They rewrite it in like 3 years to be like that thing we said. Lie, actually. She is a clone.
But then how did the Daydreamer realize that it was a daydream and an illusion?
Because we don't talk about Daydreamer anymore. She's never brought up again.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
You actually thought up this whole story. It was like a really bad Chinese, like expired Chinese food induced nightmare.
Right.
Like, have you ever like left out some food on the counter, and then it's like been 2 days, and you're like, I'm broke still, and also it's probably fine, and then you eat it, and then you wake up at 3 a.m. with the sweats. That's what this was. So don't even worry about it. None of this is even real.
That's a great way to describe this issue. Even before the retcon.
Left out on the counter Chinese food.
I've done that often. And hallucinated. I can see that being this.
I want to quickly point out that the Gwen Stacy clone came back for a storyline in the Clone Saga in the 90s, disappeared for 10 years, came back in a joke issue of Stan Lee meets Doctor Strange.
Bunny?
Then disappeared again, came back in Spider Island Deadly Foes, and was killed in 2011. So she's dead
by
now.
a different Gwen Stacy clone.
Really?
Yep. 110. Yep. That's exact because I read that issue. Spider.
Wow,
Yeah, she's killed
bad.
by a different Gwen Stacy clone, but this one's all like gross and deteriorated. She's like, I'm the better Gwen Stacy clone.
Can we read that
Also-
instead?
This Gwen Stacy clone marries a clone of the Jackal.
Right. It changes her name to Gwen Miles, right?
Yeah, because his name is Miles Warren, and she goes by Gwen Miles after this.
So stupid.
Yeah.
What-
Right. I was talking. I hated the things that I said.
You hated the things you said.
I changed my mind. I don't want to like have this weird knowledge of garbage anymore.
What was the name?
Is this why when I was like, oh, I like comic books, and everyone in high school was like, ew, don't talk to me.
I'm starting to see patterns.
Yeah.
shit.
Okay, but I want to back up in 1 minute. What was the name of Gwen Stacy's second clone?
I think it's Abby. I think it's hold on, I gotta look it up. I think it's Abby L.
I'm looking here and I don't see her.
Yeah, Abby L. I found.
Oh yeah, you're right. Abby L. Abby-L. That's so weird.
Oh God.
Oh, and she dies in that issue too.
Yeah, they all die.
Cool.
Oh my God.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
All right.
Wow.
Man, this blows.
Yeah.
Anyway,
This all blows.
Hey,
It blows
I'm not
a
the
lot.
one that wants to review 90s Spider-Man comics like you guys do. But anyway, just be warned.
Dude, at least here, the worst part about all three of these comics is they're boring as hell.
That's true.
Look, if they were hilariously bad, we'd be all having a different conversation. But look how fucking tired Josh is.
I don't know. We've been talking
Like-
for an hour and 35 minutes, so
It's 8:30 at night. I'm drinking coffee and I'm still tired.
Yeah.
okay. On that note, maybe I just want to summarize this by saying, when we
Yeah.
got to this month of Spidey history, I was so excited when I saw these covers. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to reread these. Yeah, these are garbage. These are complete shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bummer because I think that there's some really great ideas in all three of these issues. And I wish they would like explore them a little bit better. Like even these young gods, like they're kind of interesting, and I think that they might make a good series of like comics. Like I don't find anything interesting about them in this story.
No.
But their like little introduction thing at the end is like, okay, so it's kind of like the X-Men, but they're in space and they're like trying to learn how to like be humans, but also be these like gods and where they fit in with like the rest of society. That's pretty fun. But yeah, it's all just kind of like little tastes of that throughout all of these issues. Like, this could be fun. I wish they would have done something cool with it instead of, well, this.
Yeah, the best part of this is that little tidbit that's like, this is this person. This was their human achievement that got the gods to want to give them
Yeah.
godlike
It's
power.
it's a trailer for a better comic.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, here's
cool idea.
Moonstalker. The reason the gods picked her is because she was great at hunting.
Yeah.
And all these people, they're all from all over the world, and they're all from different time periods. That's cool. But, no. As Jolie said, I said no. I say no.
I second your
I like
no.
calculus. I like calculus. He's my favorite. He's just good at math. And he's a god about it.
They didn't even give him a superpower. They just gave him a calculator.
Yeah. They're like,
Like a physical
Hey, kid.
calculator. It's not even his brain.
Yeah.
yeah.
Also,
It's not even like a graphic calculator. It's just like a big old regular.
I want to know more about this walnut. This big yellow floating walnut in the sky that kills this robot. Hey, what's up with
Oh,
that?
yeah. What's
Hey,
that?
what's that big walnut in the sky? Hey, what's that?
It's the Unimind.
What's the Unimind doing here, blowing up robots?
He's awesome. By the way, I also want to back up and point out that the Slug has appeared 46 times, so he's
Good for him.
He's not a minor character.
45 more issues to go.
I mean,
Sideshow. We do a sideshow. It's all about the slug.
There you go. Yeah, there's our next mug design. A Slug mug. There you go.
yeah.
Okay, we should probably wrap it up at some point.
Please.
Okay.
Right now.
We started off the day so nice. We were all excited about Frogman.
I know. Can we just go back to
know.
talking about
This is how it started. This is how it ended, right?
Yeah.
Thank God.
Okay, so yeah, I want
Happier
to thank G.I. Jolie for not falling asleep.
You're
tried her
welcome.
best.
I
I
want to
am
thank
so
Bex
close.
Luthor. Yes, I want to thank Bex Luthor for also not falling asleep.
One of the new god's powers is that he can turn into anything, and he just constantly turns himself into, like, Stretch Armstrong.
Nice.
Okay. Josh, I guess you can take. Oh yeah, before you take it from here,
Okay.
I have to let everybody know that next week.
What are we doing now?
Would you like to know? We're reviewing 4 Spidey comics because Amazing Spider-Man goes bi-weekly for the summer. Cult of Love Part 4, California Schemin', Humbug's Back. Remember
More
Humbug?
like California semen.
Yeah, like guys on the scene.
Oh my god.
Fucking got him.
Kate.
I'm sorry. I'm not all.
And another Punisher Persuader story.
Is it weird
So
that
be
I'm
sure
excited for the Cult of Love?
Yes. No,
Yeah.
it's a good story.
At least it's like I kind of remember giving a shit about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an
Because-
actual story, yeah.
Right. And we'll be joined by special guest Kevin Jank, returning
Nice.
from the LCS Hockey Podcast. All right.
Oh, I was like, who's Kevin? Never mind. I like Kevin.
Yeah, everybody likes Kevin Jank. Okay, and Josh, you can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. I'm assuming somebody, at least one person, made it through this episode. So we want to thank you specifically for listening to this podcast. You. You can find us anywhere you can find podcasts. Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you find podcasts, we're there. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter at the Comic Book Syndicate. Please let us know what you guys think about the comics we're talking about and the podcasts themselves. We definitely want to keep that comics conversation going.
That's right. So until next Monday, see you later.